Hi, my name is Colleen Vichet, and I am excited to introduce you to Sara Ventris. She's the owner of Legatum Legal. She's an estate planning attorney who I'm very excited to interview because it's dear to my heart, having been a hospice nurse for years, seeing how many people went through the process of the end of life and had never put their things together, never had put their estate in order, and then their family was left with really a mess that kept them from being able to properly grieve and just be present in the moment with all of their family and even with their loved one that was nearing the end. Instead, they were concerned about all of these legal things that had to take place, and it actually delays your ability to be able to grieve because you've got so many things that you have to take care of, all of the probate that's probably going to take 18 months or longer for you to navigate. And it's just a very heavy, painful thing to go through in addition to grieving a loved one. So Sara, tell us a little bit about why you're passionate about helping people with their estate planning.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Colleen. And I just want to add real quick, if I can, Colleen is also my health insurance agent. So she takes care of the health insurance side for me, which is phenomenal. And hopefully we'll get to that in just a little bit. So I started my practice, Colleen, because my grandfather had a trust, and he told us for years, don't worry about anything. I've got a trust in place. Whenever I pass away, contact my attorney and my attorney will tell you exactly what to do. Yeah. So when I first got out of law school, I was a prosecutor, a criminal prosecutor in Oklahoma County, and that was gonna be my career. That was it. I was gonna stay there. I loved being in trial. And when my grandfather passed away, my family gave me all of the documents because I was the only attorney. Right. And they said, what do these say? What do we do? And not knowing anything about estate planning, because that's a completely different area of practice, yeah. I kind of jumped in and did a little research, tried to help my family out because like you said just a second ago, when you're grieving, it's kind of difficult to lay everything at the feet of one person. So the family kind of comes together. I quickly found out that there were some red flags with my grandfather's trust. There were about 3 wills that were floating out there with the trust. And okay. I didn't understand that or what that meant. Yeah. And then the trust itself had not been amended or updated for about 20 years. And so there were some things in the trust that were no longer valid. And then there were some things that maybe should have been in the trust that weren't. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to call his attorney because that's what he told us to do and find out what is kind of going on here since I'm not familiar with estate planning. Yeah. His attorney informed me that, he had done my grandfather's trust about 25 years earlier, that he hadn't really spoken to my grandfather since, and that if the trust was not updated and there were things that needed to go through probate, then this attorney would be happy to take it through probate. And in my grief, I got very, very angry because I thought, this is malpractice. He's got a document that doesn't work for him and he thought it would. Oh. And so I did a little research on that end, and I found out that with estate planning, generally, estate planning with most attorneys is very transactional. It is, you come to me, Colleen, and you say, I would like to have X, Y, and Z documents, whether that be a will, a trust, a power of attorney. I put it on paper, I give it to you, you give me money, and then we never talk again. Oh. It's very transactional with a lot of estate planning attorneys. And I just thought that's not right, because estate planning is much more than a transaction. And what my family and I had to go through, knowing that my grandfather's trust did not work, we had to go through probate, and my grandfather's wishes were not carried out because the probate court had to do something different according to the law. Right. So on top of grieving my grandfather and his wishes not being carried out, my family was in conflict. My father and my uncle fought, and it was a very long, tedious process. Yeah. So I thought, I can do this better. And I left the district attorney's office about 5 years ago, and I've been in my own practice. And the only thing that I do is estate planning and estate administration. If you'll notice, and I encourage you to look at other attorneys, they will practice in multiple areas, including estate planning. So divorce, family law, civil litigation, estate planning. And I find that interesting because you can't do one thing well if you're trying to do everything.
That's true.
So my motto is stick with one thing and do it perfect.
Yeah.
If you can. Just to try to save people from going through what my family went through during that really, really difficult time.
I appreciate that. And I know that you have a passion for making sure that you follow along with your clients and keep things updated, and that you actually take the initiative to reach back out to them periodically just to see if there's any changes, to make sure things are up to date, because not everyone has the opportunity or even remembers that they need to make changes.
Right.
And
how many times have you blinked and it's been 5 years?
you
know, I mean, it just goes by so fast, and you're living life, and you should be enjoying life. I mean, my job as your attorney, your estate planning attorney, is to reach out to you if the law changes and that's going to affect your estate plan. Do we need you to come back in and make sure that your estate plan works for you at the time that you pass? Because not touching it for 20 years, as you can imagine, your life changes so much in 20 years, and your plan should grow with you and change with you throughout your life. So I do offer a 3-year reach out. So I reach out to all of my clients every 3 years. And it's just a very simple phone call. Have you had any major changes? A death in the family where you inherited some assets? Did you have a baby? Did you get divorced? Did you start a business? That's a big one.
That's a big one.
Because a business is an asset, so it needs to be covered in your estate plan. So that's my job to do that. That way you don't end up like my grandfather 20 years down the line with nothing reflecting your life.
Sure, thinking that he had taken care of everything, but yet not realizing
it is not a one and done. It is not a check the box and I've got that done, which is a huge myth in my field.
Right, so once you put it in place, it's good to go. You never have to look at it again.
Yep.
No, I understand that, because there's many things we think that about. I used to think that too. Put it in place, never think about it again.
Yep.
When is it too late to put this in place? Because I just want our audience to know that there's a point in time where it's a good time to do it when it's on your plate and it's on your heart and before it becomes emotional. And there's a time when it's just, you've passed the window of being able to get this done appropriately, where it's really going to benefit your family.
Right. Thank you for that question, because I don't really get asked that question very often. And it's so important for people to understand that for me, now there are other attorneys out there that will do this, but for me, I will not create an estate plan for you if you are in the hospital. And I have had a lot of people, unfortunately, reach out to me when their loved one is in the hospital and they want me to, hey, can you put a will together real quick? Or hey, can you put a power of attorney together real quick? Because I need to be able to do things on behalf of my parents or my grandparents. Number one, the problem with that scenario is it's not the actual client reaching out to me. It is a family member that wants to help the client. And while that is commendable, there is a fine line between making sure that I have that relationship with the client and not with their family. And then secondly, capacity becomes a question. You know, if you're in the hospital, more than likely you're on medications. More than likely there's something traumatic happening. And so making those big decisions while you're in the throes of some life-sustaining treatment possibly is not going to happen with me. Now there are, like I said, there are attorneys that will do that. I just will not. So what I tell people is everybody needs an estate plan. If you are 18 years old, because the law says at 18, you are an adult and you have to have things in place if something happens to you. So I have a young adults portfolio, which includes the major healthcare documents and a simple will, so that if something happens to my young adults, which are typically 18 to 25, 18 to 27, because you haven't started your life, you don't have your assets, you maybe haven't started a family yet.
True.
That will cover you and be sufficient to help your family get through that time. Then once you kind of start your life and you're gathering your assets and you're building your family, come in and get something done immediately, and then allow me to reach out to you every 3 years so that it can grow with you throughout time, right? So 18 to 110. As long as you're not in the hospital and you're not like in an active healthcare situation,
right,
you know.
Crisis. I appreciate your integrity about that, Sarah, because you're right. That is when people often think about, oh, I need to get this taken care of. But the fact is that you probably aren't thinking clearly. Yeah. And, well, not everyone's motives are great in families. We maybe all have heard of families, or maybe had one, where sometimes there's a lot of contention about who wants things. Maybe they weren't even in relationship with you and they come out of the cupboard and, you know, want to stake their claim. So I like that you want that relationship with your client and not just their family members.
Yes.
So
yes,
I appreciate
absolutely.
That. Very good. Very good. So what's the best way to reach you if someone's wanting to have a consultation and to find out more? Is there a best way?
Yes, so you can call. I have a website, legatumlegaloklahoma.com, and you can go through the website and you can schedule a consultation, or you can call and talk to my client services director, Prisma Tellies, and she is bilingual, so it's great because we're able to reach out to the Hispanic community. And really from there, so I offer a free consultation to my BNI members. So if you know Colleen, please get in touch with Colleen. She will get you in touch with me and you'll get a free consultation through that connection. Other than that, my consultations typically cost $75. And that's just, if I have a cancellation, I've got to recoup that time, obviously.
And you're a professional, so your time is valuable.
Yes. So I put a little bit of a price tag on that one. But then after the consultation, so whenever we meet, it's a 1-hour consultation. And I give you an intake form that asks you about your family dynamics and asks you about your asset structure. Just very broad overview. Because in the consultation, I want to make sure that it's effective and we really talk about what you need and what your wishes and wants are. And the only way I can do that is if I know a little bit of information about you. So the consultation is very effective in just narrowing down what do we need to do for you to protect your family and protect your assets. Then if you decide to move forward with me, I have a 3-step process. So a lot of times people don't proceed with estate planning because it can be very chaotic and it can be overwhelming and there can be a lot of things that you have to do. And I really try to have a structure in place that takes that burden off of you. And so, it really kind of puts it in bite-sized pieces that makes it a little less overwhelming. And so my 3-step structure is that you would come in for a design meeting with me. It is a 2-hour meeting, and we really get down to the nuts and bolts of who do you want your financial agents to be? Who do you want your healthcare agents to be? Who do you want taking care of your minor children should something happen to you? And then what are we going to do with your assets? What does distribution look like if something happened to you? And then the most important, which most people don't generally talk about, is an estate plan should cover you during incapacity as well, not just death.
That's a good point.
Right. So, and you know from your nursing background and also from just selling healthcare insurance that 88% of Oklahomans become incapacitated before they pass away.
It's so true.
So you need to have a contingency plan in place in case you're incapacitated. And all of my plans include that incapacity contingency plan. So the design meeting is very structured and efficient, and we get a lot of information and a lot of things done in 2.5 hours.
That's amazing.
It's really cool because I can start to see my clients really understanding how these plans will help their family. And then after the design meeting, then we have a signing meeting, a signing ceremony is what I call it, because now you're putting it into place and the gift is almost complete, right? So we have a signing ceremony, And then after that ceremony, we have a binder delivery. So I will deliver your portfolio to you, and at that time, you will have a complete estate plan.
I love that. I really appreciate the fact that you take that time instead of just passing out some paperwork and saying, hey, go fill that out and just send it back into me. Because sitting down and talking with someone helps you get real focused and actually get a task completed. Or I find that I work that way. So many things come into mind and phone calls come through and things can interrupt you, but you have a designated time that you actually help people take all the steps and get it all in place. So then it's not drug out through months of time and then not completed, and you get it done.
Yes, it's very structured. Yeah. Well, and I really try to run my practice and the way that I do things from an education standpoint. That's why I like to provide a lot of seminars. You know, whether you get an estate plan with me or you get an estate plan with Joe Smith down the street, I truly believe that everybody needs to have an estate plan. It's just so vitally important. And a lot of times people just don't know what an estate plan is or what it does for them. And so education is very important. So a lot of my client meetings, I will be explaining to you like what this document is, what this document does for you, what it prevents as far as court and conflict. You know, and it's really, really interesting how many clients I have that come in and they already have an estate plan and they want me to review it and make sure that there's no holes in it. And whenever I start to ask them questions about their own estate plan, they have no idea. They have no idea what it says. They have no idea what it does. They don't even know if they have a power of attorney, if they don't have a power of attorney. And that's unfortunate because whenever you're paying to have something that works for you, whenever you pass away, you should know what it does. And that was a major pitfall with my grandfather. My grandfather was a very smart man. However, he was not educated on what an estate plan could do and needed to do. And so a lot of the reason why his estate plan didn't work is because he didn't know that it needed to be updated. And so just that little piece of information could have been the difference for our family, you know, that it needs to be updated.
I mean, I'm not an attorney. I'm a registered nurse and I sell health insurance. So I would have no idea what laws change, when they change, how it's going to affect me, what legal documents I need. And you solve the problem of, I don't know what I don't know. So I don't even know what to ask because you do. And so I don't need to know all those things. I can just say, okay, here's, you know, I let you even ask the questions. I don't even know what information to bring, but you do. So it makes that process that isn't a simple process by any means, but you make it simple.
Oh, thank you.
And take that pressure and even the heaviness, because when we think about the end of our life and what that may look like, that's not a fun topic to discuss. But to be able to sit down with someone who is caring and personable, that knows the right questions, that makes it simpler, that formats it where you just can get it done and move on with life, I think that's just a gift. Because if you've never been through that process with a loved one, it is a very heavy, painful process to be trying to divide assets and navigate family members' discord while you're trying to grieve. It's just so unpleasant to do that from my personal experience. So we all need to do this.
Yes, and if I could just add one more thing, you know, the education part and the, you know, not knowing what you don't know is very important whenever it comes to the DIYers. The let's get on LegalZoom and let's do it ourselves, because we can get a trust on LegalZoom for $100, I think. And we can do it ourselves and we can have it printed off in about 30 minutes and we're good to go. We've checked that box. And it's just very, very unfortunate whenever I have a family member or a family come into me and they bring me a online do-it-yourself or a LegalZoom trust, and their loved one has just passed away and they want me to administer that trust. Because I can tell you that there's really not going to be anything to administer. Most of the time, the family member that created that trust does not understand that they have to then put their assets into trust. And if they don't do that step and they don't do it correctly, then the trust is actually worthless and it goes to probate. And I will tell you that 100% of my online legal Zoom or whatever other DIY program that you use, I have always had to go to probate. I've never been able to bypass probate with those online trusts.
So it did not protect.
It did not
the
protect
families from having that long, drawn out, expensive probate.
No. And so on top of grieving and on top of finding out, which I went through finding out that my grandfather's trust was worthless. Now you have to go to probate. Now there's potential conflict between the family members because you don't have that protection of these are my wishes and my trust. Now you have a judge that is making the decisions for you. So, and I actually recently had a family member ask me if they could sue LegalZoom. And I said, you could try, but I don't think it would be in your best interest to do that, you know? So just be aware, you really do get what you pay for. And if you're getting a $100 trust in 30 minutes, then you're probably going to get about 30 minutes of protection from that trust, you know, and then head right into probate. So,
good point.
Yeah, it is astronomical what you can find on the internet for do-it-yourself and, you know, the false hope that it gives.
And a false sense of protection.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
absolutely.
An excellent point. Okay. Well, I'm going to switch gears just real briefly. You are a business owner. You've started your own business, so you are an entrepreneur with just a few employees. I say just a few. You don't need to have a big firm because you like that personal touch. You're not farming all of this work out. You like working with your clients.
Yes.
And I know that when you were looking for health insurance, you had looked on the marketplace. What made a private option a good option for you?
Yeah, so I didn't even know that private options were available. I was just as ignorant as you were about estate planning, you know? And so getting to know you and networking with you through our businesses and just listening to you every week speak about how important it is, I thought I really need to get health insurance from somewhere other than the marketplace because I need to have dental, I need to have vision, I need to have a full plan that will cover me. You know, I'm out here telling people that they need to have a full estate plan, you know, a full contingency plan if something happens to them, yet I'm stuck with no health insurance, you know, as a entrepreneur and a business owner. So when I left the district attorney's office, you know, prosecutors don't get paid very well. If you didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
But we do have, or they do have, the best benefit plans. So I went from having top of the line healthcare insurance, you know, I could have anything done with no money out of pocket, to now scrambling, trying to find something that would just even cover my dental and my health. And, you know, I fortunately heeded your advice and did not make the mistake of putting my name and my address and everything out on the internet.
Never.
So I reached out to you, Colleen, and, you know, as you started to explain to me the different options that I had, it was really, really interesting to me because I am of an age and in a place in my life where insurance for someone like me can be upwards of $1,000 a month. I mean, that's a mortgage payment, you know? And I was shocked at the amount that it was going to cost me if I wanted to have top of the line like what I had at the district attorney's office. But did I really need that? You know, so we started looking at these plans and picking them apart and realized that there were a lot of things I was paying for that I didn't need. And I just thought that that was really cool. I get chills now even thinking about it because I don't think a lot of people understand that, or what you showed me is that with a private plan, you really can kind of customize it a little bit to what you need and not pay for things that you don't need. And so that was really, really cool to have that sit down with you and talk to you about where I am in my life and what I actually need. And we ended up getting a plan that works phenomenal for me. As a matter of fact, my favorite feature is and I'm gonna mess it up, the telehealth. The telehealth.
MD Live, yeah.
Yes, if you are a busy entrepreneur and you get sick, number one, that's taking you away from your business. But number two, can you go sit in a doctor's office all day?
Right, waiting?
No. So telehealth, I've used it 3 or 4 times. I've been able to get medication for strep throat. I've been able to get medication for the everyday cold, and it's just been perfect. So I haven't had any issues, thankfully, but it was really cool to see a different side of healthcare, especially because, there's a lot of negativity around our healthcare system. And so to find something that works for me and know that it's going to work for me is really just satisfying,
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah,
I'm glad to hear that.
yeah.
I did do a quick review of what Sara has and even what she could get today. And looking at the marketplace plans, if you don't qualify for a subsidy, which nobody wants to be in that income bracket, but if you do, that's fine. We'll find plans for you for that. But if you don't and you're paying full price on a marketplace plan, for Sara, the cheapest option that was still $15 more than what she has right now was a $9,100 deductible. So she would get a wellness visit and everything else up to $9,100 was going to be out of pocket for her first before it covered anything. And it's a tiny little HMO, a little hometown network. So a 50-mile radius with only a few providers that are able to be a network for her to see, versus a private plan that is nationwide. Actually will cover her 30 days out of the country if she wants to travel abroad. Has vision, dental, some additional accident coverage, critical illness that pays her if she gets a critical diagnosis and just has to fight it. It's not a life-ending event because we know life insurance is important. But like she said, 88% of people, they don't go quickly. They're going to have this prolonged period of time. Well, many of those are actually going to turn around. They're going to fight that diagnosis. But meanwhile, they were not able to work. So that critical illness insurance gives them money in the bank to live on while they're fighting that diagnosis. So she has a plan that costs her less, gives her so much more up front, and it's completely tax deductible for her business. So she can just write that off as a business owner. So it's a perfect fit for an entrepreneur, small business owner, solopreneur, or even somebody that has a spouse that maybe offers that they can get on that spouse's employer plan, but it's crazy expensive, and that's pretty common.
Yes.
So getting it on your own can save you several $100s a month. So it was a great fit. And so I appreciate you're willing to look at that, Sara.
Yes.
And of course, I'm just delighted to have you as a client of mine because I think you're an amazing person. You're an amazing human being. And I love what you do and the passion that you do it with because you really care about people, and that sets you apart. You're not just trying to do something to earn an income to build a business.
Yeah.
You are invested in your clients. You're invested in their success and in helping them with something so important. For maybe it won't impact them, but their loved ones, it's just such a difference for them. So thank you for your heart being in what you do.
Thank you. Thank you. And I would say everything the same for you as well. One of the things that really just impresses me is that you have that nursing background. And so whenever we went over my healthcare plan, you were really able to dive deep and tell me, okay, this is the kind of scenario that this particular clause will cover, or the nationwide, and it's not just a small HMO, because I do travel and hopefully I'll go out of the country here pretty soon, but just to have that kind of peace of mind that you don't have to go to a specific doctor in a specific town and that's all you're relegated to. If you do have to go travel and see family, or if you do get to go travel on vacation, then you have that peace of mind that you've got your health insurance that will cover you if you end up in an accident or hospital. So that was really significant to me as well. So thank you for that. I'm glad that you're my health insurance agent.
Thank you. I am too. It's an honor. Well, thank you for your time today, Sarah. And if anyone would like to reach out to Sarah, there's going to be, legatumlegal.com. The information will be in the notes. And of course, if you'd like a free health insurance consultation, please reach out. You can set an appointment. You can call me, text me. In this day and time, there's just multiple ways to get in contact, but we would love to help you in any capacity. We're just honored to be here for our clients.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Colleen.
Thank you. I hope that took well.
Oh, I think so.
Oh, it didn't turn off.
We may not have to do another one.
I know, I feel like that floats so good.
Yeah.
I wonder what's wrong with this little thing. My little thing is not working. It doesn't
not
have a way to
turning it on.
charge it.
This will be funny to watch back. We're like, how do you get it?